talk a little about baseball right now. You've made some changes to the baseball rules. Obviously, the big one last season was the pitch count. This year, you've kind of extended the season for baseball to kind of help out with the pitch count, to allow teams to not necessarily have to try and cram games in March, have a little more breathing room. But that did create a headache now with the state tournament, and that's why it's moved out to Northeast Ohio this year.
Yeah, challenges all the way around. One of the toughest things I had, and I'm going back to my previous role as the baseball administrator. And by the way, our current baseball administrator, Emily Gates, is one of only 2 females in the nation that administrates the sport of baseball, and I'm very proud of that. She does a great job. But in my old role, where I was the one that was actively involved in moving our moving our season a week longer, it was a real challenge for me to convince schools that I understand it might be working a little bit longer into the summer. It might be working after kids have graduated at playing games. I know there are challenges with that, a lot of them. But I also had to look at what was good for high school baseball. And that balancing act is tough at times, but at it also, we do that. Huntington Park, where we've played for since I've been at the OHSAA, was not available anymore, and at least is not going to be available for 2 years. The International League, the Mud Hens are in that too, and they no longer can reserve dates like they used to be able to do. Louisville, I believe, is the only one that can. They're able to free up the Derby weekend, but no other International League school or city site can say we want to be away or we want to be off that weekend. So that puts us at a tough situation too. Akron, we looked at some other sites, and Akron had been wanting it anyhow. It made it a pretty perfect match because softball has been there, and that's been a good home for softball. And in fairness to the city of Akron, I mean, they have a logo for the week because now softball is one weekend, baseball the next. They're calling it, I think, doubleheader week. And they have activities planned in the city of Akron all week long. Hopefully we're not rained out, so we're there all week, but they've embraced it, and I give them a lot of credit for that.
From an administrative standpoint, I suppose it has to be nice to have those in the same geographic area, so you're not having to worry about having your staff in Canton, part of your staff in Columbus, part of your staff at Jesse Owens, part of your staff at Huntington. That way it's a little bit more centralized for you guys.
Well, let me tell you the person that appreciates that the most. In the last 3 years, I administrated the sport of baseball, the sport of softball, and lacrosse, which, by the way, up until this year, all 3 of those state championships were the same weekend in 3 different cities.
Yes.
The number of miles I put on those that weekend between Akron, Columbus, Delaware, Akron, Columbus, Delaware was incredible. I don't mind driving, but you're right. It is really good and being in one city. Coupled with, Akron has been a very good partner in the high school scene. Some places you can use our facility, but don't go here, don't go there. You can't use this, you can't use that. Akron is rolling out the red carpet. They want that to be the best experience that those kids ever take away.
You mentioned your travel. People who watch OHSAA state championships, they are probably familiar with you for handing out trophies to the champions and for the runners-up. And invariably, you will make some sort of reference to that school, some sort of reference to that town, that neighborhood, that makes the people in the stands and the people watching at home go, wow, he really gets us. He knows us. How much research do you do before you give out one of those trophies?
Well, I'd like to tell you that the research really is involved with some of the establishments I mentioned. I'll say restaurants. I visit them. You know what? That's sometimes the best way to get to know a community. I travel a lot. You know, I will go to the places where people are and meet people. I'm so blessed to work in the people business, and so that's really how I learn them. So every once in a while, somebody will dig up a little nugget for me, you know, that maybe I wouldn't have known or somebody wouldn't have known, but by and large, it's just because I visit them. And it's ironic because when we hand those trophies out, every time I watch the NCAA or the Super Bowl or something like that, trophy is handed to them and, hey, congratulations.
It's usually some corporate person who might not have any idea what they're talking about.
And I get that. I totally get that. And I even say sometimes on the Division I level for us, there's give us the trophy. Give us the trophy. We don't hear this other stuff. We came here to win. And I get that. but it's also a vital part of what we do, and it's kind of a very nostalgic thing that we do. We try to keep it down a little bit, and I can tell when I'm going too long, but I'm just as thrilled. I always tell people, I never had the opportunity as a coach to be a player to play in the state tournament. I never had the opportunity as a coach, unfortunately, to take a team there. But by golly, I know what an experience it would have been had I done it. I want that experience to be memorable for the teams there.
We began this conversation talking about what challenges face the OHSAA. Let's wrap it up with this. Looking back, what has the OHSAA done very well in the last 5-10 years?
Another great question. I think we have been able to maintain the opportunities that we give to schools and give to kids we've been able to maintain it with declining revenues. Again, our revenues are derived from ticket sales and a small portion of corporate partnerships, very small. But we've been able to do that. We are one of the very few states that do not charge our schools a membership fee. But yet, if you belong to the NLL, if you belong to the track, you pay a sizable entry fee, a membership fee to be parts of those leagues. But there's no membership fee for us. I think we've taken that for granted. So I think we've done a great job with that. 2, I think we provide an awful lot of services, whether people admit it or not. Organizations that have regulations, in absence of regulations, chaos exists. People would come back and beg for oversight and regulations. We're able to provide that, I think, in a fair and consistent manner. Not everybody's going to agree. There's no question. But I think we've been able to maintain some level of that. And also with our tournaments, despite declining attendance, and anybody, you've been down on the floor, you see those kids after a game, you hear them walk off, and you'll hear their comments, sometimes win or lose. And they'll talk about unbelievable experience that this was for them. And I think we've been able to do that. And once again, we don't charge a dime to those schools to enter our tournament. Yet if you go to a wrestling tournament on any weekend, or you go to any tournament in the high school during the regular season, they're paying $300 and $400 to be in that tournament. We charge nothing. I don't know how long we can keep doing that, but I think we have done, to answer that question, a great job of that with declining attendance.